Welcome. Today we'll be discussing how to factor a trinomial by grouping in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. So when we talk about a trinomial in this form, this is slightly different than what we've dealt with in the past where we had x squared plus bx plus c. In this situation, I have a leading coefficient attached to my x squared. That means this is a numerical value that is not 1 or 0. It could be 5, 7, 13, 251, whatever it might be. So in this situation, what we want to do to factor this is somewhat similar to factoring a trinomial in x squared plus bx plus c form, but we're going to add some extra steps to this. What we need to do first is have an example. So let's start with 4y squared plus 3y minus 10. Now with this trinomial, what I want to do is factor it into the form where I have two binomials, again, that are being multiplied by each other. Normally, if we didn't have a leading coefficient, we would say, okay, we would have our y here and our y here. But it's not going to be so straightforward because there's a numerical value attached to this. So we can't just plug our y's in this case. What we have to do instead is we begin by multiplying our a value by our c value. Whatever our coefficient of our a value is, we multiply it by whatever our c value is. In this case, we get a negative 40 because it's a negative 10 times a positive 4. So we're going to have a negative 40 here. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm looking for factors of this. This goes back to the factoring trinomials just in the form of x squared plus bx plus c. We're looking for factors of negative 40 that can give me a positive 3 when combined. Okay, so I'm looking for factors. So I multiplied a times c, and I want factors of a times c that can give me b, in this case 3. So let's see what are the factors of negative 40. Well, negative 1 and 40 are obviously factors, or negative 40 and positive 1. Those can be interchanged. Some other factors of negative 40 we could say would be negative 2 and 20, or vice versa, or 4 and negative 10. But none of these still are going to give me 3. If we keep moving down the line of factors, we're going to eventually get to the fact that 5 times 8 is going to equal negative 40 if one of these terms is negative. But we need to be selective about which term is negative, because if I make the 8 negative, 5 minus 8 is going to give me a negative 3. That's not going to give me what I want. I need it to give me a positive 3, so this is important. The 5 is going to be my negative term, because 8 minus 5 will give me my 3. Okay, so 8 minus 5 equals 3. Okay, if I did any of these other ones, 4 minus 10 or 10 minus 4 is going to give me a 6 or positive or negative 6, depending on which term I use as the negative term. Negative 2 and 20, we can see a negative 1 and 40 are nowhere near each other. So we can find that negative 5 and 8 are my terms I'm going to be using. All right, now that I've found my two factors that multiply to negative 40 and add up to positive 3, being 8 and negative 5, I'm going to be rewriting my equation using those values. So going back to my original equation, I'm going to rewrite 4y squared, and this is where it's going to change. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in my 8 and 5 because 8 minus 5 is the same thing as 3. So we're going to make this a positive 8y minus 5y. So I've essentially rewritten 3y as 8y minus 5y because they are the same thing. And then I'm going to continue on with my equation to finish with negative 10. So I have 4y squared plus 8y minus 5y minus 10. And now what I'm going to do is what I was talking about over here, grouping. I'm going to group my terms together. I'm going to make two binomials. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to group my first two terms together, and I'm going to group my second two terms together. In doing so, what I can now do is factor out like terms. In this first binomial here, 4y squared plus 8y, both these terms share a 4y, so I can factor out a 4y from both of these. If I do that, I have 4y left on the outside of my binomial, and on the inside I will have a y, because 4y times y is 4y squared, and I will also have a 2, because 4y times 2 is 8y. On the right, this binomial here, both of these terms share a negative 5, so I can take a negative 5 out. And if I do that, what I'm left with inside is y, because negative 5 times y is negative 5y, plus 2, because negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Now, notice I have two binomials here that look exactly alike. That's exactly what I want, because I can cancel one of those out. and I can combine these two terms here together in a binomial to make 4y minus 5 and y plus 2. And now I have my factored form of my trinomial. And check that by distributing the values back. 4y times y gives me 4y squared. 4y times 2 gives me 8y. Negative 5 times y gives me negative 5y. And negative 5 times 2 gives me negative 10. Combine our like terms, and we have 4y squared plus 3y minus 10. 4y squared plus 3y minus 10. And that is how we factor a trinomial by grouping.